Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, your host for the House of Hardcore Podcast, Tommy Dreamer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the House of Hardcore Podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Dreamer, and I am fortunate enough to have another one of my wrestling children on with me. The former Curt Hawkins, the current Brian Myers. Brian, what's going on, man?
What's up, innovator of violence? Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. Happy to have you here because you couldn't be on for a long time, but now you're free. You have freedom. I love it. It's weird for me to call you Brian, though.
Yeah, it's strange. Nobody calls me Curt, next to nobody, but it's Hawkins or Brian.
What do I normally call you?
I think Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, I seriously I've called Sabu his real name maybe once, and he corrected me. Or even, like, I call Festus because his wrestling name, whatever people like, your first wrestling names is kind of what just like hits.
I have a rule where I leave you in my phone as I first met you because people's names change too much in this business. And it just becomes a headache, or like, you know, you're like, oh, I got to text so-and-so, and you look up 14 things, you know. So Gallows is still freaking Deacon in my phone just because he's had 19 gimmick changes, you know.
I have Christian as Nerd.
Even that's like hard to remember.
I have Test as Jobber. And I have a weird thing too. Even when person passes, I just can't get rid of their phone.
Same, yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah,
which is
actually I have quite a few now. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, welcome to wrestling. You should have been around in the 90s when we used to have to just erase your name.
Some are civilian friends I have in there. But.
Yeah. All right. As you know, because you listen to the House of Hardcore Podcast, just kind of like to tell your journey and promote whatever the hell you want to promote. So what in the world got you hooked into this wonderful world of professional wrestling?
So my first memory of wrestling is my older brother. He's about 5 years older than me. So we had a bit of that's a big gap for siblings. He rented from this mom and pop video store in our town, WrestleMania 6. And then, you know, brought it home, and I watched that and was like, what in the hell is this? And then what really got me, I mean, the event itself kind of speaks for itself. You know, that 1990 WWF, there's a lot of, you know, exciting characters and stuff. But the packaging of that VHS was that poster of that show, and it's Hogan faced off with Warrior and the lightning bolts coming down. They just literally look like two larger-than-life people. And I was hooked from then on, you know.
It's so sad that there will be generations of people that one will never experience going into the video store. And just
crazy.
Like you said, what sold you was that packaging and it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, even DVDs are becoming a lost art. I'm right now currently in Michigan, and there still is a family video. And you could go in and get videos, but like, dude, it's like 5 videos for $1.
Wow.
And they have brand new movies because this is kind of like on the outskirts of the world. And there are still a few family videos out there, and they still do have wrestling stuff. It's a lot more video game rentals, but there is generations of people that will never, I mean, back in the day before it was like Netflix and chill, it was you go to Blockbuster.
Oh. Friday nights going to Blockbuster were like such a big deal. Like in my childhood, you know, my town growing up.
Yeah.
Cool. You know, the latest movies, the latest wrestling, you know, find it all.
So you have what? Just one brother?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. He was more into wrestling for you. Now you're getting hooked.
So he was he was a normal wrestling fan where it was a phase, a childhood phase. He liked it, and, you know, found other interests and moved on. You know, there's the true wrestling fan that doesn't let it go. You know, I never let it go. I just, you know, no matter how old I got, it just stayed with me. And then, as I grew, my interest in wrestling grew, and I realized, wait, I remember, okay, from that moment, I'm into WWF, right? Then I remember going to the toy store and seeing WCW guys on the shelf, and like, what is this? And there was Flying Brian Pillman, who just had the same name as me. So I'm like, whoa, that's cool. It took something that simple because I was such a little kid. And then I found WCW, and then I got older, and then I started finding other things, ECW, and then I like ECW, and I'm getting a little bit older, a little more mature, and they're doing, different things, and there's chicks to keep my interest, blood and guts and all kinds of stuff like that. So and then the internet becomes a thing, and then there's a whole nother layer I've uncovered where I'm like, I always knew it was predetermined, but now I'm understanding like a little bit of how it works or what's going on and who's going to what company and stuff, and other, the deeper layer of it to keep you interested on a whole nother level. So I just completely, all the way through to college, where like I was still like collecting wrestling figures and kind of like hiding it, because I didn't want like the dudes in my dorm to know I was like buying toys and stuff like that. So just absolutely never ever let it go.
Who was your guy?
Growing up, my guy was Shawn Michaels. I mean, to this day, I still think he's like the greatest in-ring performer that I've ever seen. My favorites are just, an abundance. I love Bret. I love Mr. Perfect a lot. Mr. Perfect was someone that actually I stole Curt for Curt Hawkins was my choosing, and that was like a little shout out or tribute, if you will, to him. I was able to choose that. But like Mr. Perfect was one of those guys that I first realized, like, not that I was smart to the business, but I was understanding how the business worked, because I thought he was such a good bad guy that I appreciated him, even at a very young age, where I figured that kind of side of it out. So he always stands out to me in that point. When I was younger, the first guys that called to me were Ultimate Warrior, Texas Tornado, the Rockers, the guys that were kind of larger than life and had the neon colors and stuff like that. And then as I got into the business, it's changed throughout the years. Like Chris Candido, I'd say right now is probably my all-time favorite wrestler. If I had to pick one, Eddie Guerrero's pretty high up there. So there's quite a few.
Weirdly, tonight with your hair slicked back, you look like the love child of Shawn Michaels and Lance Hoyt for some reason.
Okay.
Just with how your beard is.
Not sure if that's a compliment, but I'll take it.
Yeah, they're two good looking men. It's weird because I did Hurricane Helms, and my generation, we grew up with wrestling magazines. And, when you are getting into this, the wrestling magazines industry is going down.
No, it was pretty big in my childhood.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
But we got all our information about wrestling through these magazines. That was our internet. Yeah. I feel you're more the internet generation where you're getting more facts about wrestling.
I use this a lot to explain to, like, I guess, guys of your age and older, to explain like the split. Like, you guys had maybe just magazines to really kind of romanticize your fandom. But my generation, video games, bed sheets, it was completely, so like, we get to WWE and everyone's like, oh, the Major Brothers are such marks. We're like, well, yeah, what? I don't understand. Like, since I was 5 years old, obsessed with this has all been accessible to me, and I've gobbled it all up. It's not that I, think wrestling's real or whatever. I just love it, like, passionately, and that was the way has always been presented to me. It wasn't like this, like, thing I couldn't find,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Hurricane brought up one great point, that the magazines always focused on the positives as opposed to, as you know, especially now, the internet is all about the negatives. And like the magazines were always to further the storylines and capture your interest, as opposed to, hell, I'll click on something that said, either a spoiler or a rumor. Like, guess who just got signed today? You click that, as opposed to, why does Tommy Dreamer hate Raven? And like, you read the magazine that tells you why, or like, Dusty Rhodes says, I'm going to kill this guy. So it's totally different. But your fandom, dude, I mean, I'm still a fan. I literally still watch wrestling once a night. I know you do too. You just got back from helping train the next generation of people, so you have to love this business. So now, how, I mean, I know your story, but how do you get into professional wrestling?
So it was very weird. I wasn't like a backyard guy, even though like my generation, it was like a big thing. Like I was a sponge for sure in like all aspects of wrestling, whether it was like the collectible side or books, like anything wrestling I was consuming. So very early on, I read some interview with Bret Hart where he was saying that like backyard wrestling is not legit. It's not what we do. You need to be properly trained, yada, yada, yada. So I made up in my mind that, okay, that's stupid. You know, that's not real. Like a real wrestler wouldn't do that. And I focused on sports, and I did, you know, throughout high school, football, wrestling, baseball, straight through. And then I made up my mind that I was going to start pro wrestling as soon as I graduated. So the original plan was to go to Killer Kowalski's in Massachusetts, which is like a famous wrestling school. You know, Triple H came from there, and a lot of famous dudes. And literally the spring that I graduated high school, it closed down. So I was like, oh, crap. So at the same time, I was growing up, and like all throughout high school, I was going to these Frank Goodman USA Pro Wrestling shows.
Brutal.
If you know Frank, he's one of a kind. But he would always get on the mic at intermission and be like, we're opening the school soon. There will be a school, yada, yada. Swore by it. And then sure enough, that spring, Kowalski's went down. Frank's announced the grand opening of his, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Grand opening, head trainers, Balls Mahoney and Chris Candido. So I'm like, wide-eyed. This is spring 2003. Like, thinking my whole world is just like perfect. Go to the grand opening. There's some famous luminaries there, the people that know the business. So Sean the Mick was there and trained, for sure. Like, tried to be a wrestler, which a lot of people don't know. People that know him. Brian Wittenstein, famous pro wrestling agent, was there and trained, like took bumps and stuff. Balls and Chris had, now looking back on it, we trained for about 2 hours. They had no plan whatsoever. Literally just asked what we want to do, and I'm just like so excited looking around. I go, let's do backdrops. And Balls goes, okay, and we're just taking backdrops first day. So looking back on it, but I'm in a ring for the first time, training, like over the moon excited. My parents dropped me off there and like went shopping because they were like, what's up with this wrestling thing or whatever, you know, they weren't too sure about it. They came back, picked me up, and I'm so excited. I'm taking off my wrestling shoes, and I could see like off in the distance Frank and Candido and Balls having a not good conversation. You can just tell by the body language, like, oh, this isn't going so hot. And I was like, left, so excited, thinking this is like my new journey. The school was never open ever again. That was the one and only day. I contacted Frank, and like the ring was still there, and I went one time and actually rolled around with Stryker and messed around, and that was it. So then I was like back to the drawing board. Luckily there was NYWC in Long Island, which I didn't want to go to, because the only thing is, to me, and this is true to this day, like you're only as good as like the person who's trained you and where he's been and what they know. So John Curse was part of Team Taz. That was all I knew. I didn't know anything about him, so he was like lower on my list, and I was kind of handcuffed to like go there instead. And I went to one of their live shows. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Met everybody, started training there. That school shut down. And then, so basically for like a year, I was just kind of like driving around with Dan Barrett at different schools, Jersey. You know, I remember rolling around with Homicide one time somewhere, like things like that. And then finally, Mikey Whipwreck got hold of NYWC and became the head trainer. And that's when like I got a real training and like foundation in pro wrestling.
Nice. I didn't know about all that other stuff. And a school run by, first of all, Chris and Balls.
Can I tell you this story quick, because it just popped and just came to my mind? 2015, I'm on an indie show with Balls. We're literally sharing the gimmick table. Now, Balls, I was on the roster of Balls for a year and probably did, I don't know, more than 15 shows with him. He never remembered me. Like, never said, hey, Brian, hey, Curt Hawkins. Like, he just never remembered me, and I was more than okay with that. We're sharing a gimmick table. All my merch is out there, like pictures of me and my whole career, everything. He's there. He picks up my shoot interview and reads the back, and there's a little synopsis on the back that says, trained with Balls Mahoney, Chris Kennedy. He goes, this guy was trained by me. I didn't know that. And puts it down and walks away. And me and my wife just looked at each other like, that really happened? Yep. Okay. Like, I don't know what he thought I was selling. Someone else was shooting. I have no clue. But that's Balls Mahoney. And I'm sure you know.
Balls. At least you got a ball story at it. A lot of people should. First of all, Chris and Balls driving from South Jersey to Long Island would be...
Even once a week. That sucks.
That wouldn't have happened. Frank being the boss of that wouldn't have happened. So everything happens for a reason, and it's a good thing. All right, so you're training for a while, and this is how I meet you. Me and Mikey are friends. Mikey, they're doing, was it Psycho Circus?
I don't think it was Psycho Circus. It was just a show, but kind of surreal. Like, we're probably a year, maybe less, into like being on shows and really just pure greenhorn, no nothings. But Mikey saw me and Zack Ryder from Jump Street and was like, these guys look alike. They're friends. They're a tag team, and that's just how we were, like, from day one. And he knew we were working hard, and like he started to like us. We didn't realize how much he liked us. And he brought you in when you were head of talent relations. And I don't know if you remember this. We did a 6-man.
Yeah.
And I also, for some reason, I was thinking about this when you asked me to do this, that I remember you worked with your wallet in your back pocket. And
it sounds like something I would.
And then in the back, you were like, oh, I forgot to take my wallet out. And your credit cards and everything were like warped from your butt cheek. And I thought that was like what? I was like, I'm here like so nervous about to throw up. And this guy just worked and didn't even take his wallet. I was like, holy smoke.
Well, I think it was like impromptu, and I was wearing dress slacks.
No, you're in like jeans.
Okay. Oh, yes, I was. Yeah.
Jeans, and that's why you still had like your stuff on you. But like, it wasn't impromptu. I don't know. But anyway, we work a 6-man with you. I think we go over. Then the heels jump us. Then Mick Foley makes the save, and then like we have a picture of like all 4 of us with our arms raised, and like we were just so green and undeserving of like something that cool so early in our career. And I mean, I think that started because then you knew who we were.
Yes. And then after that started the Tough Enough, or did I bring you as extra?
No. So then this whole time I went to school in Massachusetts. I was supposed to be an amateur wrestler. I did the 1 year like so half-assed because I had already started training and my heart just went out of it. Like, I was so half-assed committed to being a college wrestler because I'm like living my dream of attempting to be a pro wrestler, so I could care less. So I got through 1 year and I finally quit. My coach laughed at me that I was being a wrestler or whatever. He thought it was a joke. But I was going back and forth from Springfield, Massachusetts to do the shows. So on like a Sunday night, I'm hanging out with my buddies. I remember we had like softball or something. We would play every Sunday night, like a college softball league. And you had left me a message that maybe Mikey left me a message saying that you talked to him that we were needed as extras in the Garden the next day. And I literally was like, holy shit. And then, so I mean, I like dropped everything, drove home like all night, whatever, met up with Zach, took the train in. There's unreal funny stories like from that day. Like, literally, we're just I think we're 2019, no nothing. This is a super show at Madison Square Garden, Raw and SmackDown, the whole roster. I mean, it's the day I met Hulk Hogan, shook his hand. I met Eddie Guerrero, the one and only time I got to meet Eddie, shook his hand. In 2005. So like, we didn't know there was an extra locker room. We just walk in and like sit next to Bob Holly, like start like changing and stuff. And like, he's just like literally like shaking with anger, staring at us. And then finally it was the night Eminem won the titles. And like Nitro was like, hey man, there's another spot for like new guys like us. We're like, oh, okay. And we like, got out there before like all hell broke loose. And then I remember we were sitting in this little stupid extra room, and it was right outside the seamstress area. And Trish was getting like a new outfit or something, and she knocked into her. She's like, "Oh, do you guys mind if I try these on in here?" I mean, Broski are like, "Yeah, okay, no problem. We're just in." She goes, "Leave," like shit like that. They were just so green and naive and excited. And then what happened was it's the debut of stuttering Matt Morgan, and you came like running up to us, and you're like, and you literally looked at both of us, and I think because Zach and I are the exact same height. I think my hair was just a little too like spiked up and like broed out, and you were like, you, and like you said he was shorter, and you grabbed him, and he was the one who did the job.
Nice. I don't remember any of that. I do love the fact that like in your heads, like you were like allowing Trish to get dressed in front of you.
No problem. Yeah. This is what WWE's like, right?
I love wrestling.
Yeah.
All right. So you have that. And now we have the Tough Enough in Long Island.
So maybe you have a better idea of what that was supposed to be. I never really.
That was supposed to be John Laurinaitis had this great idea of doing like either top talent or getting people to do like a Tough Enough contest. It was basically like a seminar of like, hey, who had a good story, who did this, and we were going to bring them in. And that's how like I knew I was bringing you guys in. I remember there was one guy who spoke no English.
Dude, I have vivid memories of this day because it was like traumatizing.
Yeah. Bobby Fish,
who was the only one who actually like seemed like he was worth a damn at the time. This is February 2006. So Mikey contacted us again and said that maybe you said to sign up for this thing. So we just signed up, and then someone maybe emailed us and said, okay, you got it. Go to the Nassau Coliseum before this live event and have this tryout, this Tough Enough tryout. It was like 13 or 15 people, and the kind of bullshit of it was, I think maybe 5 were people that had pro wrestling experience. The rest were just like whatever. So like after like the push-ups and the sit-ups and the squats and the jogging or whatever the hell we had to do, which is whatever, expected, and we got through it and it was fine. Everyone else just kind of got to watch as like we killed ourselves having these matches on the fly. Like I had to work ECW Zombie on the fly and this like shit match. And I was just like, oh, I was way too green for something like that at the time. What I think is that Broski and we had matching gear and we had matching like hair, and I think that might have set us apart from the pack, if anything. But Bobby Fish was there, like you said. He seemed like a star and did his thing, and we were like, wow. What really screwed us was at the end you do promos, but we weren't told it was a promo. Like Paul Heyman was there and like came out and was like, tell me why you like wrestling. And I like passionately spoke about like kind of what we just talked about, like, growing up loving it, never letting it go, wanting to be, in the business. And Broski did the same thing. And we went first because we thought like, oh, that looks like we're eager and, kind of like what Mikey had taught us kind of thing. And then as the line went, even like the jabrones who never wrestled before were cutting like pro wrestling promos that were like semi-entertaining, and Broski and I are like, oh, we just shot ourselves in the foot here. Like we didn't even stand out amongst these people. Like by the end it was full-blown 80s wrestling promos going on. We're like, shit. Then to top it all up, I remember so we do the thing, you gather everybody in the stands and you're like, that wasn't very impressive, guys, like to the whole group. And you're like, if anything comes out of this, I don't think it'll be any secret that it'll be in Bobby Fish's favor. And, thanks for coming. Oh, and here's tickets and the nosebleeds for the live event. You hand out the tickets and we're like, wow. And like, we went to like an Applebee's and like ate our sorrows away. And then we went back and like hung out at the show, and that was it. And it literally, we thought it went so bad. We expected nothing to come of it.
The whole thing, and again, it was trying to do like what they do now, but pre-COVID, was like pick a handful of people who they had to submit stuff. I had to look through stuff. It was if people had good bodies.
That's what there was, like fitness people and people from weird countries and stuff.
Yep. Like that one dude who spoke no English and didn't friggin' know how to wrestle. But this was like a kind of, like they do today. They'll bring a bunch of people to the performance center, but now they would take indie people, they would do, but I had to do a mixture of stuff they put out because it was Vince wanting to get like new generation of wrestlers. So anyway, I know now I'm able to hire you guys. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why they passed on Bobby, but hey, everything happens for me. I think
what I remember hearing is at the time he looked exactly like Brent Albright.
Yeah.
They literally looked exact. They had the same long hair, same beards. And I think through the grapevine it was something like that.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, and this is funny when I was talking to Matt, first of all, I find it ironic that the two of you had no clue. You didn't know each other. You had the same interests. You live really close to each other. And
grew up like less 20 minutes-ish from each other, same age. We're like 20 days apart in age. Yeah.
And don't ever run into each other in the world of professional wrestling.
There's countless times that like we're at the same show, same autograph signing, same whatever, but no.
So I get to open up a new developmental system, and now I get to hire you guys.
Yeah.
Now I remember where I mainly always talk to you and not so much Zach. Weirdly, I also thought you guys roomed together, like in college.
Oh, that was kind of cool actually, because it was February, and we were like, you were like, you're both in college. And we were like, yeah, and you were like, oh well, WWE's not gonna want you guys to drop out, so just like the checks started coming, and then we were still in school. It was like one of the best times of my life. So from February to May, I just like just lived at school and like hung out and trained, and wasn't going to classes anymore. And what I ended up doing, I wrote the same like one sheet kind of essay to every one of my professors and said, look, this is what happened. I got signed by WWE. I have my childhood dream job. I am not coming back to school. I said, can you just give me the lowest passing grade so my parents' money didn't go to waste? And every single one of them passed me.
Nice. And I do remember saying, no, you have to finish at least this semester.
That's what you said. Yeah, and we were like, really? Okay, because we were about to just literally,
I know,
leave in the night. Yeah.
And I was just like, no, you have to do that. And I didn't know I got you guys paid while you were in college. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
$500 a week in college. Damn.
Dude, I thought I was a millionaire. That was like insane to me. The only thing that I have a question for you, a lot of people tell this story, and their version is like either you or whoever is doing the hiring is like, where would you like to go, Deep South or OVW? And they have a choice. We never had a choice. You said you have to go to Deep South. And like, we didn't even feel like it was on the table to ask to go to OVW.
No, correct. I had to.
They just needed bodies?
Yes. I had to put different people into the system, and I had to feed that system talent, because you also got to remember, I mean, you were there from almost day one. They had nothing. And then also like how OVW had, they already had established beginner classes and all that stuff for people who weren't signed. And I was able to pick, people who were on their own dime to go to Deep South, or some to stay in OVW. But yeah, a lot of people know they didn't have. I didn't give some people I gave a choice to, but not a lot of people had a choice, because I had to fill up bodies in that one system.
Yeah. Okay.
So now you go to Deep South. That is an experience.
Oh man, we had the Dark Side of the Ring guys on my podcast, the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, and I said, Matt and I said, I cannot wait to do Dark Side of the Ring Deep South Wrestling. Because if you get the real stories from the guys, like, and now that all these guys are fired, they probably could really easily get some. It's more, I would say, comical at this point than really like Dark Side. But holy shit, the stuff that went down there, it was just like, I look back on it, it's like insane, just an insane time in my life.
Your Zach said he looks back on it now and he's like, it really did prepare him for what the wrestling business was all about. And like, I remember, because I used to, I was the head ran the developmental systems. Yeah. And like, I had my issues with Jim Cornette. I had my issues with Jody, but like, besides being a fan, but like, I had to be like, I'm trying to be the baby face here, but then I'm having to deal with Johnny being like, why is this not happening? And you're their boss. And I'm like, I know, man. But it put me in such a horrible spot. And like, when you're running, dude, if you had a WWE developmental system, it was like printing your own money. It really was. Your company was getting paid. You were getting paid. Your employees were getting paid. And all you had to do was produce like VCR capabilities of shows. Everything was paid for. And if you ran shows, WWE didn't want the money. All they wanted to show that you, and it was such headaches or like, forget about with
old school carnies that were in charge of it, man. Just different. Jody would give us a speech after every show. We're the best goddamn independent going today. And like he didn't see us as a developmental. He saw us as like a company on the rise that was going to overtake WWE.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't make any sense. Yeah.
And like, the arguments I had to get into was absurd. And like, they paid everything. They literally, all you got to do is unlock the door and have somebody else do it. I wish I could have a developmental system. because I would have been the greatest. Like, seriously, dude, it was so simple.
I think Steve Kern really embodied that. Like, he understood that with FCW for sure.
Yeah. And if WWE says they want somebody on television, you have to put them on television.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And even like on that end, they didn't even have like real television. Like, literally just show us VCR tapes like you're doing stuff.
But like Jody was doing some carny stuff, like selling the TV to like anyone that would buy it, like that Mav TV or whatever, just to like make more money. And then, which is not what WWE wanted, you know? Like, I remember my buddy told me, I was on a cruise last week on a cruise ship and I watched a Major Brothers match, like in my room. I was like, what? And it's just because he was selling the TV to anybody.
That's awesome. And I knew probably I just learned about that right now.
Yeah.
And like, but you know what, honestly, like in OVW, and that became a thing, like WWE didn't even want the footage. They just wanted the talent.
To have experience.
They didn't care to own. I mean, this is before the network. They didn't care to own any of it. Yeah. You could make your own T-shirts, and like there was a pitch like to even like have like a subdivision on the WWE website to get these guys like, you know, an OVW T-shirts or DSW T-shirts and those talent, which could have been broader, but like everything was like a fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's from my pocket. So you're down there for about how long? No, wait, I'll go back. So you moved away from home, but now you're moving further from home.
Yeah.
To Atlanta.
Which is another thing. Deep South was built always, unless you were there, as Atlanta. But it's 40 plus minutes south in a town called McDonough, which had like one bar, one gym, one tanning place, you know, a 24-hour Walmart, which was like the hot spot because there was like nothing to do. Like, Broski and I would just go like walk around this Walmart like late night because it's just like literally nothing to do. So Deep South had been open a year, and we come
the Atlanta
like,
Motor Speedway. Don't forget about that.
Deep South's open a year already, and there's already just like we're literally walking into like an unreal amount of drama and stuff like that. Like just and we didn't know it, And I remember our first like week, the drama was already at a high where like people were writing emails behind Bill's back complaining about the training and this and that. And like, I'm sure you're, privy to all this. So then I remember like the first like Friday or something, or maybe it was a TV. They're like, oh, Johnny's coming today. And the rumor amongst all the boys was like, oh, Bill's finally going to get it for, being a bully and, being too hard on us or whatever. So we're like, oh, wow. So we're sitting there in the bleachers, biz cash. Johnny comes in. And we think like he's finally going to announce that like maybe Bill's not the coach anymore. He goes, listen up. You're all a bunch of fucking pussies being paid to train. Bill DeMott is your fucking coach. I don't want to hear another word. Like, any more complaints out of you motherfuckers. And we're just like, holy shit, this is what we're in. Like, he was just so, like, Johnny's a completely different person now. He's actually awesome, but like, he was so effing scary to me back then. Like, holy shit. And then he got that speech out, and then all the new people were me, Broski, this kid Chris Rambola, who had one of those tryouts. He looked the part, never really amounted to anything, and Kenny Omega. So Johnny's like, and he finishes up the speech, and he's like, this is what I remember. He's like, we're all the new guys, huh? And then like we all raise our hand. He's like, okay. He's like, Kenny Omega, this kid, he's the next Brian Pillman. He stood out to me, or I did a Harley race camp, blah, 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 blah. Puts him over to the moon or whatever. And he's like, this kid, Chris Rambola. Yeah, he's a stud, blah, blah, blah. Puts all his credentials, puts him over, and he's like, all right, that's enough. Have a good oh, wait. Where are those two new kids? Me and Broski, like, timidly raising, and he goes, what the fuck? You're supposed to have blonde hair. Dye your hair. No put over, no nothing. We're just like, what a first fucking week. Where are we?
How come I wasn't there?
So you're also transitioning to ECW, and Bucci takes your spot.
Nice. Whew, those headaches. So now
you're having flashbacks.
I am. I really am. Well, I remember when I had the conversation with Bill. So Bill, listen, and dude, me and Bill came from the same trainer, so I understand. And like, how much Bill cared for his
own worst enemy. He cared too.
His
much.
Kids. Yes.
Yeah.
Like how I say you're my kids because I hired a lot of you, but Bill then like take it to the next level where he trained you. And I'll never forget, like, we're getting all these like people, but it's also, and back then, and I still believe this, it's separating out the weak.
Yeah, to like an extreme
Yes.
measure. Yeah, but like it was almost like if Bill liked you, you were fucked, and if Bill disliked you, you were fucked. Just two different kinds of fucked. You know what I mean? Because he'd be on you to do better if he liked you, and if he didn't like you, he'd just make your life a living hell. Like as far as like just flat out bullying you and telling you you're a piece of shit and you suck. You know, so it was tough. Look back on it, I'm like, just the warm up would be insane. You know.
Well, I mean, I've told you this, like when I went to All Japan and I had to train, dude, they wanted me to be in the dojo. And when I started, I didn't want to go to WWF or WCW. I wanted to go to All Japan or New Japan. And this is, Inoki Baba days. So I get the opportunity to go there. I'm on a 6-week tour and kind of like, same with you. Like I'm tagging with Stan Hansen and I'm 22 years old.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, so then they take a liking to me and we have to ride these buses forever, like 8-9 hour bus rides. I have to help set up the ring. I have to run 8 times around the ring. And I'm not talking like jog, you have to run. Then you got in the ring and you took 150 bumps. It was 50 backdrops, 50 body slams, 50 hip tosses. And then you went in the back, you changed into your outfit. I'd wrestle. Then sometimes they didn't make me break down the ring because I had to get on the bus because I was on the Americans bus. And then like you drive like 13 hours or however many hours to the next town. And like, I remember like the first week I would get on the back of that bus and I'd have like a towel and I would just be crying. And like here, dude, like there's the Fantastics, there's Johnny, there's Steve Dr. Death Williams, Abdul the Butcher, Stan Hansen. Like this is my dream. And I'm literally crying. Like, and I'm saying, and then I'm begging, like, please don't let anyone see me cry. Cause I was so hurt. I was so beat up. But then I realized like later getting older, it helped me so much. Because there's a lot of people that, back then also, there was people who tried to crack you, so you just quit the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And dude, I mean, you see it too, because you train people now. There are people who just come in that think this is easy, and you can see people who are going to make it and people who aren't going to make it. So you now get your big call up.
Yes. So we do a full year in Deep South, but the last month of that year, Deep South closes abruptly. What happened there was Johnny came and closed it. That was the speech we thought we were getting when we showed up, was that speech finally. And they made a decision that night that me, Zach, Jesse, Festus, Brad J., and Angelina Love would immediately move to Louisville because they thought we were the most TV ready in the system. Everyone else was moving to Florida to start FCW. So that happens. We're, not working for like 2 weeks or so, getting ready for that. And then Mike Bucci calls and says, you guys are debuting. You got to drive to Birmingham, Alabama and start on ECW.
You start on ECW with, now I'm full-time wrestler, but I'm kind of like, I do stuff behind the scenes too, but I'm more or less concentrating full-time wrestler. That was an experience too, because also you're a big ECW fan.
Yeah, I don't really count that as. I mean, to me, what's more sentimental about that is that like Joey Styles like commentated my matches, things like that, little things like that. But I didn't. Broski loves to say, "Oh, we were in ECW." I was like, that's like kind of disrespectful, but especially that by that time it was pretty far gone from like one night stand and stuff,
How about Broski will sometimes be like, "Yeah, you kind of helped get me hired," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, what? I don't know. There's no other way to write that story.
I go, I did everything. I hired you. And he'll be like, oh, okay, whatever.
His memory is the shit. Okay. So we drove to Birmingham. The shtick was that I guess Dusty's, who was writing ECW at the time, I think he had seen our stuff and he took a liking to us because he kind of thought we kind of reminded him of like the Mulkeys, and he wanted to make us like them of ECW. And we were depicted as locals, like already in the ring. And then we steal one on Stryker and Monty Brown. And that was how it all got started. And then what I was always told was that they there was a big pitch to have more of a tag team division on ECW, and they were supposed to call up like Mike Knox and Derek Nykirk and like to work with us, and just like never happened. And we just kind of faded into obscurity very quickly.
That dude, you just triggered my brain about Knox and Nykirk.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you were there. Were you there when I wrestled me and Miz against Knox and Nykirk?
No, I was never. Miz moved. I didn't meet Miz till we got called on the road, because he was an original Deep South guy, but he had moved. Miz and like Ryback, I didn't meet till later because they got moved before we came in.
We did something, and Miz was an over babyface from the reality show, and I have nothing to do with the TVs. They needed a body, and I was coming in. I was like, "Hey, man, yeah, sure, I'll." And like Bill had asked me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll fill in." And it was me and Miz. I was a mystery partner against Knox and Nykirk. I'm also the boss.
Mm-hmm.
We do the thing. We have a really good match. This is one of my many favorite Festus stories, where the whole thing was they go for like the chair shot, misses. They hit Nykirk hits Knox in the head. I DDT Knox on the chair, who Knox took an amazing DDT.
Yeah, he does that RVD kind of upright. Yeah,
and he stood.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. But like Miz pinned him. And then here comes Freakin' Deacon to jump us. And he's laying the boots. And Freakin' Deacon grabs me by my throat and is choking me. And I'm selling. And all of a sudden, as loud as he can, directly into my ear, he screams, "I hate you, Tommy." He screams into my ear where he was choking me. And I don't know if you've ever had someone yell as loud as they can into your ear.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's deafening.
Yeah.
And I literally jumped away because it hurt me so much. And I come in the back and I'm selling big because my ear is ready, because Festus screaming in my ear. And when I walk in the back, dude, it was like silence. And I knew we had a good match. And I was like, Miz was, of course, Miz in the back. I was like, "Everything all right?" He's like, "Yeah, uh-huh." And like, dude, it was like parting of the Red Sea. Like everyone was like super excited, but yet there was something wrong. And I'm like, "What's going on?" So Bill's got his head down. He's like, "Jody left." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, Jody threw a fit and he left. And I was just like, "Why?" He goes, "He was very upset about the match." And I go, "The match? What was wrong with the match?" And he was just like, "That you guys used the chair." And I was just like, "Well, it was a good way. I shouldn't be beating the younger guys." And even though I'm the most established person and got like the loudest pop, so that was that. So literally I was like, "Oh, okay." We then went to Applebee's. Then my phone rings and it's Johnny. And he's just like, "What the fuck's going on?" Like yelling at me. And so then Johnny plays me the message of Jody driving home, right? And he's just cursing up a storm, basically telling that I killed the company because I used the chair, and they were building up for some like chair angle, and I was the first person to use it. And he told Johnny to fire me when I came in to work for free to do a favor.
That's like what you're talking about, the drama, the unnecessary drama that just came out of that.
And he was just like,
it should be a very simple gig.
He's been using it. He used a chair. We've been building up a chair for 5 goddamn months. And he killed my whole territory. It's either me or him, John. You got to let him go. And like, I was his biggest fan. Right. So then I had to stay over next day to talk to him about, and I was just like, "Jody, I apologize." And I was like, "Listen, man, I thought I had free reign." And like, he was cool as can be afterwards. Mm-hmm. But like, it was, like you said, it was that stupid drama. And like, I had no problems with him ever up until that point. And then after that, it was just like Tommy Dreamer trying to kill the territory.
The way Deep South TV was, they do like I want to say 4 darks and then 4 matches for TV. It was like split down the middle. And then the first 4, there's a giant sign there the whole time. No punches, no kicks, and no chin locks. And you were in like deep shit with Jody if you did it in those first 4 matches. And then you also triggered another memory. He would just tell us all the time at tape review, the greatest worker I ever saw was Sonny Myers. He could work a headlock for an hour. And I'm thinking, who the hell wants to watch that? But I mean, Jody wrestled in like the 50s, so it's just a whole nother generation,
Yes. All right. So you get called up WWE. Also, side note, I do because I love you were at ECW One Night Stand 2005.
Broski was. I'm not there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Broski.
I always thought that was you.
No, it's Broski. Mikey kidnapped. I would love to, but Mikey just kidnapped him, made him drive him that whole loop to the arena and to that show. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
all these years
I went to all those last real Hammerstein shows. I've been to one of my favorite live events I've ever been to is December 23rd, 99 at TNN taping up in White Plains is the only one, right?
That was wow, I didn't know you were at that one.
Yeah, you Incredible on top. Supposed to be Stairway to Hell, but they switched it to Singapore King because the New York Athletic Commission wouldn't let you do it, right?
Yep. Yeah. That's also a quick little Paul Heyman story. I had bought in my generation, it was if you're making it in wrestling, you had a pair of ostrich cowboy boots, a Halliburton, and the 80s guys were like Cadillacs. My 90s guys were Mercedes. Now I used to work at a Mercedes-Benz dealership, and I bought a brand new, the first one ever, a CLK Mercedes-Benz convertible. And I drive out of the parking lot. I get to the first light. A truck goes by the other way, kicks up a rock, and hits my windshield. And I'm still looking at the dealership, and I watch the windshield go all the way across.
Yeah.
And I bought this car the day before that show. So I wanted and I told Paul, this is what I want to do. Hey, I want to drive up where all the people, because I'm new there. We used to have long ass lines. Park my car in front. Here comes Just Incredible. I get out of the car. He canes me and then tombstones me into my windshield. So then I got to get a new windshield anyway.
Oh.
And Paul was like, Tommy Dreamer would not drive a Mercedes-Benz.
He's got a point.
And I was just like, what? And he's like, Tommy Dreamer would not drive a Mercedes-Benz. I go, I drive a Mercedes-Benz. And he's like, you're not Tommy Dreamer. And I'm like, yes, I am. And he's like, Tommy Dreamer would drive a 1970s sports car. Like, you would drive like a Dodge Charger. And I got into the stupidest argument with him because I just wanted a new windshield.
Yeah, but I honestly see his point.
I know, but
you're supposed to be the everyman. You're not going to come in such a cool car like that.
He's like, I go, well, then give me your Corvette, because Paul had a Corvette. And he's like, Paul Heyman, Tommy Dreamer would not drive a Corvette. I'm like, dude, I'm a Guido from Yonkers. I would drive a Corvette.
Yeah.
But we had like the stupidest argument that day. I didn't know you were at that show anyway. And I can't believe all these years I thought you were at that pay-per-view.
Yeah. I still have the program, and at intermission, Elektra, Doring, and Roadkill were signing. I still have the program signed by all 3 of them. They're at the gimmick table signing.
Cool. All right. So you're on the road, ECW. ECW goes away. You're kind of floating again. Big
time floating.
Broski goes off on his own.
Oh, we're skipping like Edge stuff.
I totally forgot about. I'm sorry.
I don't have to.
No. I totally forgot. Yes, your guys are floating.
Yeah,
and then we go to
real bad. And this is old school. I don't think people understand when I tell this story that like old school WWE. Like I want to say now you have 3 strikes might be too little. You probably have 14 strikes in WWE now, maybe 15. Back then you had 1, and you were toast. Like you got like no chance. Crazy. So like we were pretty job scared, and it was only like the fall of like our first year on the road. What really happened was we literally debuted on ECW. The next day we went home and drove to Louisville, reported to Louisville. Johnny wouldn't release us in developmental because we were so young, I think, which rightfully so. He thought like we still needed to be there. So we worked OVW and full like road schedule doing live events and things like that. Like basically worked 7 days a week wrestling in some capacity, whether it's WWE or OVW. It was crazy time period. And back then the writers would come down and like you'd put on like a fake show for them, and it would just be like a showcase so they could see who's down there and whatever the hell they're who they are, because you really, when you're in WWE, you're not thinking about this kind of stuff, so I think it served its purpose, but it's a weird and nerve-wracking situation. It's basically, actually, it's what we do now. You work for a nobody, you're working to no reactions. It's very strange. So we're already in OVW forever. We're already called up. We run into Michael Hayes at TV. We're not booked. And we're like, hey, I know you guys are coming this week. Like, we're already here, called up. Like, what do you want us to do? And Michael was like, well, show me something different, okay? And then power walked off in his fanny pack. And we were kind of like, all right, fuck you. Like, we thought about it, like, we'll show you something different then. Like, who cares? What do we have to lose at this point? So at the time, we were watching a lot of Entourage. It's still probably my favorite television show of all time. Like, that's just what, like, Broski and I did in our free time. We both loved that show. We thought it was hilarious. And we were legitimate marks for Edge just throughout life growing up, and had no relationship with him whatsoever. He had just come back from an injury, so we really hadn't even spent much time around him. We were like, what if he's like Vinny Chase and we're not his minions, but we are his minions in wrestling terms, but we're like his lackeys, and the way like Turtle and Johnny Drama are and stuff. I'm like, okay, and we kind of like bat around these ideas. We rated the merch gimmick at TV, took all the Edge stuff, came out, no one knew, came out, you think you know me, and we came out, cut this funny promo that we were like running around town doing errands for him and stuff, and I think it really like shocked all the writers there and put the wheels in motion with everybody, and even Michael Hayes, who's hard to crack. So a week later, we're like, what'd you think? He's like, I loved it, it was great. And we're like, okay, so can we do it? He's like, well, you can't just wait with Edge. And we're like, okay. He's like, you need to write some storyline up or something. So then we go back to the drawing board and we come up with this whole thing, like, we're hiding under the ring, and he's in because we knew the match was announced for Armageddon. That he was doing a triple threat with Batista and Undertaker. And we're like, what if, he bumps me, but it's not, he thinks it's Edge, we're dressed up like him and blah, blah. And basically, like, I pulled Adam aside at TV and was like, Mr. Copeland, like, and, I'm speaking as me and Broski. I'm like, we have this idea. Do you mind if I like get your email or something and run it by you? And he's like, sure. And he gave me his email, and I wrote him up the email and the pitch. And like, honestly, I don't know if we'd be having this talk right now. Like, maybe I'd be gone and forgotten in pro wrestling if he didn't know us from a hole in the wall, and we had literally a hello and goodbye relationship at this point. And I don't know if he saw something in us or he thought it was cool that, make him look like a bigger star to have these two jabrones with him, but he approved it. Got Michael, like, who already liked it anyway. That was the two hurdles, and we got over them. And then it was off to the races after that. So it was wild, man. It was like a legit, couldn't have mattered less on the roster to laying out Batista with a chair in the main event of SmackDown on the next episode. Like, pretty wild.
And then, like, I mean, working Undertaker and Kane
more times than I can remember. It's crazy.
Getting to WrestleMania.
We wrestled Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels in a steel cage in Chicago. We were on almost every pay-per-view for a year. I mean, I say this all the time. I watched who I think in 2008, Edge is the best wrestler, the five-tool player, the best wrestler in the whole world. And I got to watch him every single night from the best seat in the house, see what it takes to be a champion, night in, night out, day in, work these main events and, carry yourself like a champion in all aspects, of the life, the travel and, the business and doing TV and unreal promos and just everything. So if people ever, think I'm a little too arrogant about my learning, I say, guys, I mean, did you do that? Because I had some pretty fortunate learning situations,
And how old were you?
22 we are at this point.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of on-the-job training. I mean, Terry Taylor is one of those guys too, on the job, didn't know how to wrestle. And then basically, like, he was just a muscle guy, but he liked wrestling and gets into the ring. And like, I think like his 10th match, he's wrestling Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. And like for you, same thing. You're working all these top guys, but it was also, I mean, at least you had the guts / gumption. And I think that goes back to your trainer, from Mikey to Bill, to realize, like you said, you only get, back then, you get one shot.
Crazy, man.
And if you're doing jobs, like I knew my career changed when I was there. The moment they took me off of the Raw entrance, I was like, I mean nothing to them. And I had, seriously, it was a 10-second clip of me turning on Raw. And this is when, like, at first they did nothing with me, and then they started doing something with me. And the moment that happened, I was like, and I remember watching the show, and when I was off that open, I was like, oh God, what did I do? What happened? And like, it's a mind fuck.
Big time.
And for you, you're 22, where, if honestly, man, no 22 would have realized this, like what's going on. Like, okay, ECW's gone, it failed, but it's from all these failures is what you're learning. And I mean, I can't help you. We all need boosts and help in our career. I don't even know if I'm gone.
No, you're there. You're just talent, though, at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I kind of remember, I know Broski remembers this too. You getting the okay in the edge thing and not even having it on the horizon. You were like, guys, you need to do something. Like, they're going to realize you're just here every weekend catering and see you later, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you having a talk with us like that where it's like, shit, you know?
Broski said that on, dude, honestly, a lot of things that you're saying, Broski saying the same thing, which is it's pretty cool. So the edge thing runs its course. And that, dude, I didn't even remember that you wrestled Flair and Shawn Michaels in a cage nonetheless.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I only did one thing with Ric Flair, and he kneed me in my balls.
We actually did like a couple of live events, not working him, but there was some like sequence of run-ins, you know, stacked run-ins, ECW style, and he chopped us a bunch. It was really, really cool. So
now that ends. Broski goes off on his own. Now you're back on your own.
Yes. So my memory of this is the La Familia Edge run ends. They tell us it's over, and for some reason, I think maybe in one of the meetings, Vince was like, let's split them up and see what they can do on their own. So they came out of the meeting and said they're going to split you guys up. But then like week after week, we kept being booked as like Jabron, good hand heel tag team, just putting over everybody. Like, we worked a lot. It just kept happening. And we're like, what the, months. And then finally there's this draft, and they take him to ECW, me to SmackDown. He had in his mind to do this Italian guy, party guy, woo-woo and all that. I literally had nothing. Like, I did not know who Curt Hawkins was as a singles wrestler back then, and I didn't have a good pitch. And like, literally once that draft happened, I stopped getting travel, and I was like, whoa. And it was the same thing as before. Like, I was smart to like the writing on the wall all these times where like, I'm like, oh, gotta pivot. And after 2 weeks of not having travel, I called John and I said, look, like, I'm 24 or whatever. I said, or maybe even younger. I was like, I'll just move to Florida and put myself in FCW and just outwork all the guys down there and build myself back up. Like, I know if I sit home, you're going to let me go. Like, there's no way. And he's like, all right, well, we don't think you aren't a good wrestler. We just don't have anything for you. So I'm not putting you in there. So I'm not going to pay you to be there. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll bet on myself then, sayonara. So I went to FCW for a year without getting paid to make it back to the roster another time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought you were getting paid to do it.
No, because we had $52,000 downsides, and
that already.
And we made that like mostly in the video game check, and it was over. So it wasn't going to get paid. Yeah. How long are you there for? Again, like basically exactly a year. And to be honest, it was like one of the coolest things I ever did, to bet on myself and do that. And I think it built my stock up like tenfold. Career altering experience being in Dusty's promo class for a year and getting close to him. Dr. Tom is like literally one of my all-time favorites. He came into Deep South on the deathbed, so I already had a relationship with him. I knew how much I loved him, and I knew he liked me. Norman Smiley, the man, so it wound up being really cool. And I actually always tell my students this too, like, I'm down there and I'm working with guys like, whatever, Trent Beretta and Loki and having like really good matches. But then on the flip side, I'm working with like, no offense to him, he's a great guy, but David Otunga in his second match. So, but there's learning for me in that situation as well, to get the most out of someone that green, So I was really like firing on all cylinders, like fine tuning all points of my game. And it wound up being a great experience besides not getting paid, which we're all, if you love this business as much as you and I do, like sometimes you're like, we would do this for free anyway, really, I don't want promoters to hear that, but that's how much you care about it.
Yeah, that whole ECW thing was a freebie.
Yeah, but you've been living off that for how long?
Till the day I die.
Yep.
So now you get called back up.
Yep.
Well, what are you doing?
They randomly put me with Lance Archer.
That's right.
And like, it's awesome. They bring us up. We're like beating top guys, doing squash matches, 2-3 months. And then we had like one stinker, I want to say, and it just came to a screeching effing halt. And like, he's basically done and fired, and then just left me like zero land. So that's how that went. And I think that around this time, at some point, is when Vince labeled me like a good hand. Like, Vince has always liked me, but I don't think he's seen me as like this superstar. I think he sees me as like a really good worker that can make other guys look exceptional. And that's a spot and something, in the business. But I think it was around that time that like, put him with Hawkins, he's a good hand. And they would come out of the meetings laughing and like quoting him about it, I remember Road Dogg coming out like keeling over one time. He's like, he called you a good hand in the meeting. He goes, that's what they used to call my brother Brad. That's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Well, you're going to have a job for a long time, because I was a good hand. You'll have a job for as long as you want, but it's not going to be a meaningful job to you. And that's where, and it was Davari who taught me this. When you're getting a push, it's the best time of your life. When you're not getting a push, it's the worst time of your life. And when you're just there at their disposal, you're getting paid for your misery.
Yes.
And so it's either take it and shut up and like, it was also Regal who taught me. He was just like, hey, it is a job and you're getting paid well for a job. And he's like, honestly, who likes their jobs? Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if you actually just take like when you're in the ring and you like what you're doing, he goes, but it's still a job. And he goes, and a high paying job. So you got to just kind of like accept it. And I was just like, I guess. But for some people, like, I couldn't. And I mean, that's why I left. But like you're also so young and still have an opportunity. So then you get released the first time.
Yeah. So probably one of the best days of my life or my careers. Yeah. So along the lines of what you're saying, at this point, I do like that's 2010. I get called back up, and I'm like the good hand until 2014 when I get let go. And I blew my knee out in late 2012, and I never like got full travel again. Like I would not go to TV every week. Like I was just randomly called upon, and like it really sucked, and it really hurt my feelings in a sense that like, and along the lines of what you're saying, like I felt like I was being paid to not participate in something I love, and that really bothered me like a lot. I was miserable about it. So when Mark Cardona finally called me to fire me, I thought he was going to ask me to go like the PC and do something or whatever. He's like, let me go, and I'm like, oh, thank you, oh, thank God, and I had 2 like just awesome years on the independents, like doing everything I ever wanted to do,
And that includes your own wrestling school.
Mm-hmm.
You have your hand in your own promotion at this time.
Yeah, so that came just a couple months, weeks before the firing, where I was being used so infrequently, and I love wrestling so much, and it's so important to me that my biggest fear was being called upon and like not having wrestled in months, or weeks, and that's not good if you're an active pro wrestler. So my buddy Pat Buck and I decided to open a school. So I literally had just got that all up and running, maybe a month or 2 into the firing. So it was kind of perfect timing.
Now, also, let me ask you and to talk about, because this is, again, what I've done there. I used to work in the office and I used to have to train. Like, I remember like literally in my WWE polo shirt, having to go to tracks when the train and like get in the ring with Great Khali.
Oh man.
And wrestle the Great Khali to see like if he improved. Or me and Shane McMahon would go at it.
Yeah.
When he was getting called back up to like do stuff. And is this a time where you're now training with The Rock to get Rock back in shape?
So this is in the good hand era.
Yes.
Another time, John, I'm just, the good hand guy. Like I do jobs and help out and whatever. But Johnny's calling me and I'm like, oh God. It's just the wrestler mentality. Like John Laurinaitis calling you, like this can't be good. And he explained to me that like Hunter, that the Rock was coming back. This is when he had the match of the Garden, the tag with Cena and Truth and Miz. And then he wanted to get some ring time. And Hunter like handpicked me and Joe Hennig to be the guys as, the go-to good hands. So another unreal experience that I had with WWE, because I always say we became like the Rock's little like secret agents. Like literally the travel agent would call me like on a Wednesday night and be like, you have a flight to Miami at 6 a.m. And a flight home from Miami at 6 p.m. Bye. And then like we would just go and like it would be like me, Joe, and Chad Patton, and we just like chill in this warehouse waiting for like The Rock, like the most famous man in the world, like when he could find the time to like train. And he was like the coolest, like such a gentleman, such a cool guy. There's a couple like he's just so busy too. Like it was pretty crazy. Like sometimes we'd go at it and train, and then sometimes we'd like just take pictures for his Instagram. He's holding us up in rock bottoms and stuff, and just kind of like leave. Like it's crazy. One time we got flown to New Orleans, and something came up and he canceled it. And like basically, me and Joe Hennig, our hotel room was like right off of Bourbon Street. We had like a 2-day vacation, all expense paid by WWE in Bourbon Street, because Rock had to cancel it was pretty wild.
If I'm living vicariously through you or you're experiencing what I had to go to. I said this when I did it with Al Snow. One time, Dean Malenko comes up to me and he's just like, Vince wants you to do something with the Edge and Mick Foley match. And I'm like, oh man, and I'm in talent relations. And he's like, Vince has purposely picked you for this. And I'm like, all right, And I'm like, and we really need your help. Awesome. So after working, like, I think it was like a 16-hour day in the green room of WWE at WrestleMania weekend, I go where like Mick and Edge are preparing for their Chicago street fight thing. And I'm like, and it's like, I'm friends with both these guys. I wonder why they didn't ask me. And I walk in there and they're not there. And they basically, I had to stand on the apron and they lit the table on fire, and I just had to take a back bump in my suit because like then I realized they just wanted to test and they wanted to make sure that Edge and Mick wouldn't get hurt. So I was the crash test dummy.
Did Vince even watch, but they like filmed it for him?
No, they just basically like, oh, Dreamer was fine. But like that was the pick for me.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, it was like 2:00 in the morning. And they lit a table on fire, and there was like a fire safety person there. Yeah. And I just stood on the apron and took a back bump in a suit into the thing. And they're like, do you need, and like, I just quickly rolled out of it and they're like, oh, you're fine. I was like, oh, that's it. Like, and I literally like remember walking back so dejected and being like, they just set me on fire.
God.
All right. So yeah, you get called for the special things, but why couldn't you wrestle The Rock at something like that? That stuff bothered me.
It was such a cool experience. I'd never have looked at it like that. But I mean, hey,
but
that night that's the night at the Garden. I don't know if you remember this, but like The Rock is trying to cut a promo and the Garden's chanting for Broski that he can't even get a word out.
Right.
He has to like address it, and it's pretty awesome.
So now you get called back. You get rehired.
Yes.
When was this?
2016. Nice. Summer.
So how long have you been employed with WWE here in your life?
I just last week was my 16-year anniversary of my first match, and I guess like 12 of those are with WWE, right?
It's a hell of a run, kid.
Yeah.
You get brought back. This is when they start hiring everybody. They're hiring all good hands. They're hiring everyone. This has nothing. I mean, the AEW thing totally just changed the business, but this is where they're starting to pull it apart from the indies.
What happened was they had the brand split and they needed more talent. And what I was always told is that they needed talent that doesn't need to be taught like how to work for TV. Like Vince wanted like guys, sure thing guys that knew how to work for TV. And I don't think anyone was going to, get pushed to the moon, but being brought in just to guys that they knew what the hell they were doing. And they, not football players from NXT that had to be walked through everything, just guys that are ready to go. So that's why
me, NXT?
Me, Rhino, Shelton Benjamin. Right.
You get brought back to be more on live events, little TVs, but more on live events. Also help teach the next generation.
I guess, I think Vince just made it. They made a list of available guys, and Vince, I was told, picked us off of it as like, guys that he can trust.
Yeah, I got that with. That's when I went back too for that little bit. When I did the thing with the Wyatts, that was Bubba's idea, but then they offered me a contract as well, and I was just like, no. So I loved it, the reverse Goldberg streak, and same what I was telling Zach. I watched that WrestleMania live with fans, and I watched it in New Jersey. And I mean, I also watch it like a proud dad because, I mean, again, they're doing nothing with you, but you're coming up a lot with your own stuff, like this reverse loss streak. And I mean, reverse win streak. You're losing all the time. What was it, 262 matches?
It's 269. I every time I like do an autograph, people like ask for it. So I always, and 269, all right.
And I hope you listened to how Zach explained it. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. But I remember watching it, one, proud as can be, but two, I watched it with real wrestling fans. And that was also the night where Kofi won the title. But your victory not only shocked the hell out of everybody, but they exploded for you and for you guys. And those are like, I wish Mania was full with people because it was like the pre-show match, but it's still Mania. But, people are still filing in. I wish you, because if you're a wrestling fan and you decide to go watch WrestleMania with other wrestling fans, you're a really diehard wrestling fan. And the joy that it was the second most joy I've ever saw. And the first one was Kofi, because when Kofi won, literally strangers were hugging strangers. But when you guys won, it was this shock. And like, I remember seeing two total strangers high-fived each other. And like, that's this connection that you'll always have with an audience.
Of course, yeah.
Broski has it too, but like, Broski had that whole underground movement and everything, but you're a part of that too, where like people know you're so talented and they finally saw it. Like WWE threw you that bone and everyone was happy for you.
Yeah. It's going to be tough to ever have a moment that special in my career, to be honest with you. I mean, and I think along the lines of what you're saying is just fans nowadays, especially, can recognize like a push or things like that. I think what they see in Zach and I is how much we love wrestling and how nothing has ever come easy for us. It's always like just a little bit and then, knocked way back down, and then just a little bit and then knocked way back down. And then a lot of our successes have been self-made, and this one, for sure. Like I was asking to lose because I realized that like I was onto something, and it paid off bigger and more special than I could ever have imagined. Especially in WWE world, in your hometown, you usually get like a pile of dog shit dropped on you and stuff and beat. But like it was in our hometown. I literally rolled out of the ring and kissed my daughter, my wife. Pretty damn special. So we in there with my best friend that I met at wrestling school when we were 18, pretty wild.
Where the Jets play.
I'm wearing my Jets gear, which is a whole nother story. I could give you a story that I've never actually told about all that. So
please do. And please keep talking. I just got to go and I got to plug my phone in, but please keep talking.
Why don't I just pause and wait till you do it?
Okay. Oh, excellent.
All right. So we are Raw TV in Boston. We're 13 days from WrestleMania. It's the second to last Raw. I'm sitting in catering and someone comes up to me and goes, Carano needs to see you. It's urgent or something. I'm like, just me, not Zach. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? That year, I don't recall this ever happening. I guess the year prior, Vince wasn't thrilled that people just wore whatever they wanted to wear, and he wanted to make sure that he saw everyone's gear ahead of time. So, like, I was very excited because this Mania was in my hometown, thinking I'm definitely in this Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And I got this one night only Jets gear made to be worn in the Jets stadium because I'm a big Jets fan, and I've literally worn orange and blue now for 10 years, and I'm very loyal to that. And I thought it would be just a cool thing, and it was important to me. I had it designed up, looked awesome. I'm very, very excited about it. So when I was asked to submit it, I thought nothing of it, and I just sent the email with the artwork because I thought it looked so cool. And I do remember Broski going, "I'm not doing that. Nothing good's going to come for that." So I call him the Carano. He goes,
"He doesn't know who the Jets are for everyone listening to."
Dude, I know that too. So I get called the Carano. I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Oh, Vince got presented all the gear this week, and he doesn't like your gear. You have to get something else." And I'm thinking, for the Jabroni Andre the Giant Battle Royal, Vince cares what Curt Hawkins is wearing, and I don't like. Who gives a shit? And he's like, "You can't wear it." He said, "No." I'm like, "It is what it is." I'm like, "No way." I said, "I got to go talk to him then." I said, "I'm just not like, no way." So we're not on the show. Broski and I wanted to talk to him anyway because I knew the streak had kind of not run its course, but people cared about it. And I said, even if I'm in like the final four of that, people would be pretty excited that I'm still in this Andre. Like, we were pitching stuff like that, and we wanted to talk to him anyway. So we went in and, like, I want to say kind of half-ass pitched these Andre pitches to him. Raw's about to start, whatever. And I said, "Boss, one more thing. I'm getting worried about this gear. You don't want me to wear it?" And he goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, do you know anything about it?" He goes, "What, that green stuff?" And I was like, which blew my effing mind that he knew it was green. I'm like, whoa. And I go, "Yeah, do you understand the significance?" He goes, "Let me guess, the New York Jets." And I was like, I'm double like, holy shit. Like, I could not believe he's throwing this information in my face. I'm like, "Yeah, well, like, to be honest, it's my hometown." I said, "I'm basically the New York Jets of pro wrestling, like the biggest underdog, they always get shit on, but you still love me." And I pitched it like that. And I think that's what changed everything, that just got his wheels spinning. He goes, "Oh, Jesus Christ, Curt, you can wear the damn gear." And we high-fived or something like that. Well, "Yeah, boss, thank you." And like, me and Broski laughed and we left. And that like weird dilemma or whatever you want to call it, I think just changed everything, because we did not have a WrestleMania match. The following Monday, we had this weird backstage with Revival that got cut. So we're like, there's nothing going on. We're just in this Andre. And then like that Wednesday of Mania, they reported, like, put it on like Twitter that the match was happening. We were just like, what the hell is this? Like, how did this happen? So I think that whole moment and that weird fiasco of like that got his crazy wheel spinning. And that's how that whole moment even came to be. Because I used to not even think about, I never wanted to think about how the streak would end, because I just felt like I would drive myself crazy, I literally just wouldn't think about it. And it was one of the best times of my career, because a lot of pro wrestling, as you know, is like politics driven, and is this, I'm going to Raw, am I going to get this today, the day I'm going to get this big push, or something cool going to happen for me? I had all that taken away. I would just be like, "Oh, dude, what's your finish? Awesome. Okay, yeah, I'll take it. Great." All that like was out of my mind. And I'm just like going out there, literally making my opponents look the best they could. And it was like fun, because I'm not expecting to win. So my feelings aren't hurt at all. And they're actually doing me a favor by adding to my streak,
Remind me next time I talk to you about the same interaction with me and Vince, as well as, because I'm listening to these, there's so many parallels, dude. It's uncanny. I have two stories that I'll tell you privately.
Oh man.
After this. So after that, again, and it was weird, because like, you guys win the titles and you don't defend them.
No.
Like, and then you lose them, and then you're back to kind of like square one again.
Basically, yeah. There's running around pretending to chase truth for the 24/7 title.
COVID happens. A bunch of talent gets released. I know I contact you and I'm like, "Hey man, any way I can help you, I'm happy to do it." And, fast forward, now you're going to debut in Impact Wrestling soon. We've already filmed that, but your vignettes are airing, and another way to prove yourself. And it's weird. And I hope I know you get this because you're smart. It took me to leave WWE to understand this. Like, ECW Paul saw something in me that Vince so much didn't. But Vince at times would hand me a ball, and he wasn't asking me to win the Super Bowl. He was asking me to literally like carry the ball 5 yards.
Just get a first down somehow.
Don't fumble, don't do stuff like that. I've always saw you, and even like my own House of Hardcore shows, I've always seen you as more. And I know you have that drive and that mentality. So I hope that happens for you, because you do every time, like every like loss, everything is a learning experience. And you're also like a father of 2 now. Your life has totally changed, and you're still super young. So
I had to rub that in Scott D'Amore's face. Actually, I said, out of all the new guys, I'm still the youngest.
you're under 30.
Every single one of them. 35 now. There's a lot there. So basically the majority of the roster was offered astronomical contracts to, I call them the please don't go to AEW contracts.
Right.
Which is okay. I had done some time. I got hernia, and Vince asked me to be a producer, so I did that, and I really enjoyed it. But I told him, like, hey, Father Time's undefeated. Like, I got to wrestle as long as I can. I could do this for you to the day I die, but let me wrestle. So I kind of made up my mind, like, okay, this 5-year contract for an unreal amount of money. I said, I've already done that. I was basically like in the mindset of being this WWE lifer, and I was okay with that. So the firings really, really, really blindsided me, for sure. Shocked me. But and after like a 24-hour, 48-hour period of just being like, I can't believe this is real, I realized that the silver lining of the whole thing is that I can say I sold out, where my career had just been saddled to getting paid a lot of money, but wrestling 6-minute matches, carrying Mojo Rawley through a main event match, and that was it. And then what really helped me do that is the Major Wrestling Figure podcast was like my creative release. Like, I always had that every week where Zach and I could, rekindle what we really love about this business. And like you said before, going to work at WWE was a job. It was straight up a job, and that was like the line I was walking. But that's a waste of my passion. It's a waste of my abilities. And so that's what I realized out of this whole thing. Like, okay, I would have made a lot of money, but Father Time is undefeated, like I said. And that window of me having, matches that people are going to remember and care about and be talking about, like, I can cement my legacy now bell to bell. And that's what's important to me.
Absolutely. And you talk about the podcast. It's literally the only podcast I've ever listened to. And I watched.
You texted me and Zach about something, and I was almost fell out of my chair that you had listened to it or whatever.
It's the first podcast I ever listened to. I don't know how to listen to podcasts. I don't even know how to listen to my own podcast.
Holy smokes.
And I don't know how to download stuff. You've seen my phone. It's quite old. And but I watched yours on YouTube. And I watched the whole thing, and I loved it. And I also like what you guys did your own show. And like you said, you now have this creative outlet for yourself. Your podcast is a niche of a niche of a niche, because it's the wrestling market. It's the action figure market. But every time I get a mention or anytime anything with your thing, I get all these people hitting me up from your podcast. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they must have talked about me or did something.
Yeah.
And but you're grown this niche. Because like there's a bunch of people who were kids. Now they're in their 30s and they have careers where they're able to afford this stuff. And they're now able to listen to 2 guys who also have done it, have a boatload of action figures of their own, but you've found your niche on that side.
Yeah. Awesome. I think a lot of the success comes from like the honesty that Matt and I just flat out talk about, like, being WWE superstars and hiding this, passion of collecting wrestling figures that we both literally somehow, since we're 5 years old, never let go of. I think the honesty and, like you said, the niche of the niche. So if you check both those boxes, you're a really big, you know what I mean? You're a really big fan. And then they see how big of fans we are. And we've built this like unreal community of like-minded people that, you know, have this obsession with collecting, you know, and it's been such a blessing and like so fun. Pre-COVID, we were doing live shows, we were doing all kinds of stuff. And even like you said, I think there's more people think we're a YouTube channel than our podcast because YouTube's just that much more popular, you know, and that was something we didn't even realize. And we were just putting stuff on YouTube because, you know, we didn't even realize what a resource that was going to be for us.
Give me your handles, please, for promotion.
Man, I've never said this out loud. I like let go of all. Curt Hawkins is dead, so I have to say it's at Myers_Wrestling on Instagram and Twitter.
And your podcast
is the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. You can find us anywhere you download podcasts, especially, obviously, like I said, YouTube. We put a lot of fun stuff up on there. Instagram, Twitter, we're all over the place. So we have a Patreon that's like on fire, and that's where like our most loyal fans are. And we have a Facebook group where like we literally interact and trade and talk and make jokes and just, you know, do giveaways. And just, it's like I said, truly a community of like-minded people that are into the same thing. So it's been a blast.
Well, this has been a blast, and I'm happy. I've known you through your whole career, and I love the fact that I found out some new stuff about you. And I just love you as a person. Always have, always will. You've been
likewise, Tommy. I don't think I have to even say how much you've you know, meant to me. And I think you'll agree with me when I say this. When you admire people in the business from the couch and see them on television, and then when you meet them and then they live up to your expectations, that's kind of like the be all end all in the business. And that's what you've always been to me, you know. So
thank you. And I also told this to Zach, and I'll end it on this. There's 3 people that their parents thank me for hiring them and taking care of their kids. And it was you, Zach, and Zelina Vega. The only 3 people that their parents came to me.
I believe it.
And I remember when I first met your parents, your mom, and she like acted like she was my mom. And then dad was just like, thank you so much for taking care of my boy. And
nice.
That means we come from good stock. So,
I remember when you called to hire me, first off, I took the call. I was so like having like a breakdown. I don't know why, but I put my like head between my legs, like bent at my waist, and was just talking to you like upside down. And then they were the very next call, and they were on vacation, like in the Bahamas or something. I left them a message, and my mom was like, I just woke up on the beach and this message saying that you were hired by WWE. Like, I feel like I'm dreaming. Like, this is unbelievable. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. All right, man. Well, I will see you at our next Impacts, and I love you. And that's this week's episode of the House of Hardcore podcast. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.